Hello, today we got to play Forge. So this game is definitely worker placement. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Forge?
I can. This was a 2023 Kickstarter. It just came out. This was $69 if you ordered it as far as the Kickstarter goes.
Wait. This was $69.
Yes, we'll talk about that here momentarily. Let me get through the stats. 1 to 4 player game, 90 to 120 minutes in length, age 14 and up. I don't think it needs to be 14 and up.
No.
You know, the iconography is the only thing that's a little confusing about it, but I would probably...
12 would be fine.
12, yeah, even 10 maybe.
Maybe 10, but...
Designed by Wesley Woodbury. Art is by Horia Gabriel Andre, published by Fundamental Games. The MSRP is $60. Miniature Market has it on pre-order for $48. Game Nerds has it for $42.97, which is the cheapest price I saw online. So
okay, so let's talk about quality of component. What did you say?
Yes.
Okay. So now here's the thing. This reminds me on the same level, I think, of Dwarven Forge, which was a startup company, like their first game ever produced, like bare bones, but we were able to get that game for, I think, for like $25-$30. So for you to tell me that this is $70...
Yeah, it's pricey for what you get. I mean, they do have screen printed wooden bits and shaped wooden bits, which are nice.
But that's it.
But that's it. The board looks like a prototype. It does not look like
it's upside down. It's upside down in the fact that the
print on it,
the glue is on the wrong.
The way it's folded, you got the creases on the main section. It's bowing, which is unusual for a board that's not inlaid, and it's completely white on the back. There's no texture, no color.
There's no art.
No, it's just white. And you just fill all the cards everywhere.
It's fine. It's fine. It works out. That's awful. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. And so are the player boards. Player boards are the same way.
Well, on the cards, there's no linen finish.
Yeah, the cards are a decent thickness. But there's no finish at all. It's just smooth.
We had to add bits. Okay, so the resources are literally just cubes. And then... that didn't match.
It didn't match the count. So like the brick, it said there were 20 brick. There was only 10. And it's got unlimited resources. So if you're playing and you hoard resources, you're going to have a problem. So the good news is brick is not commonly used in the game as we play.
No.
But,
I mean...
yeah, the fact is it should match what it says you're getting in the book.
This was nice.
Yeah, that's kind of nice, but it's not real practical to use it. It's supposed to be a action marker to say whose action it is. It's not a first player marker, which means since it's a 4-player game, you're going to be passing that around for every placement of a worker, which doesn't make much sense.
I lied. This is already peeling.
Oh, okay. Well, there's another problem.
There's only what. I'm going to have to give this a 4. I did not, for the price, this is ridiculous.
For the price, it is definitely not a 5. And, you know, the screen printing and such makes it, makes me want to give it a little more, but everything else detracts it so hard. And the fact that it's really a big thing that the number of pieces is so small and it's unlimited resources. I got to give it a 4 too.
I mean, before I found out about the white boards on the back and the price, I was willing to say 5, 4.5, 5. But when you tell me the price point for that, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I could justify it a bit if this was like the first attempt of a small company. But when I look at the box has advertising for other games by this company, it's kind of disappointing to see.
I've got problems. Okay, so I'm going to try to move past them. Let's talk about theme. So the theme is what actually excited both of us because... I like crafting. Okay, it's a thing. I like it. And it's one of the reasons why I ended up picking up Dwarven Forge and then this one. You picked it up, but I kind of like this theme.
Yeah, that's why I got it. Because
I like crafting. I like the collecting resources and completing contracts, especially if you can get some combos going on. Theory was, and I think they actually did a good job.
You have your personal board development, which is something
oh, exactly. Like. This is another thing I like. So, okay. Now, I will say there is a lot of thematics in there. You have different tools that you can end up upgrading in your forge or buying for your forge. You do have guild relationships that you can help increase. You also have different contracts of different levels that you can take. You definitely you can train your employees. You can develop some special ability that your forge does. So there's actually a lot of cool things going on thematically for it.
Yep.
And I actually like the theme. I think it was well done. The art, what little of it is, so it feels kind of weird though, because this artwork is kind of cartoony. This is not.
No, and the cards, the one thing I did like are the contract cards, because it has like an item pictured and it's got kind of a schematic of how you build it and then the resources that you cost to build it. I thought that was cleverly done.
Yeah.
On the contrary to that are the other cards, the development cards, which were very confusing because they didn't, once we get into the rules, we'll talk about it more, but they got icons on them and they didn't differentiate what the icons were, which ones you got, which ones you didn't get. And it's a little misleading. And, so whereas all the effort was put into the contract cards, those were very clear and and those were spelled out in the rule book. The other cards were not spelled out and were very confusing.
I would also like to note that you try to use realistic pictures. The art style is not consistent throughout the game.
Right.
If they went cartoon with these schematics, it would have been fine. But then they tried to go a more realistic cartoon, but then they actually went like old school pictures. So for me, thematically, it wasn't seamless, even though the gameplay-wise, I think, was very good on the theme.
And some of the cards are just free text instead of any kind of imagery, as far as there's icons, but, it's mostly text.
Yeah, so for me, I'll give it a 7.5 because I'm being generous.
Yeah, that's pretty generous. I'll give it a 6.
So then let's move on to the rule book.
So the rule book is 15 pages, it says, which means it's 16 really, because it's got a nice cover, matches the cover of the box. And it's got basically kind of the history of forging in here, which is kind of interesting. It's got the component list, which has pictures, but they don't link the pictures to the count of the components over here, so you have to figure out how to match them. It's not that difficult. But this is where we get the first issue with the cubes having a different count than what's actually present in the game. Then you go into the setup, and the setup, it was a little confusing how they did it. It wasn't horrible, but they have a numbering system which references things, but they also have a lettering system that kind of carries over. It took a little bit to try to figure out what all the different matches of the icons were. It was not that bad, though. It was pretty self-explanatory. The gameplay was not bad at all. It was very clear. Like I said, the real big issue to me was they had a nice section detailing the contract cards and how they work. They had all the different sections of them, and they had bullets or telling you what each one of them is. That's the only card they did that with. So going through and getting a development card, we had no idea which was what.
Yeah, but because we had issues about so I got a development card that gave me a tiered wagon. We don't know if that means that I should have been able to move my wagon down or not, because it actually had the icon at the wagon.
Yeah.
However, I got the tripped hammer, right? Which there is a hammer upgrade, which we didn't know whether. But the thing is that icon isn't on this card. Right. So I don't know if I was...
Yeah, whereas I got one that was the bellows that had gain a skill, and it has a clear picture of the star on it, which is a skill. So that would indicate you've gained the skill. But then when I got one here for the second floor where you actually could have more than the limit of 4 typical cards of development cards you could get, you could go up to 7, and it's got a picture of a development card. But it doesn't really look like it indicates you should have gotten another development card with it, And as we got through later, we got to one here with this Guild's Cove where it says it shows a picture of a gray icon which is a guild symbol, and they have a worker, which the workers you get as time goes by in the game. There's no way that you would just get another worker because there's no other workers to issue. So once we saw that, it's like, I think this is just telling you what the card's ability is referencing. as opposed to that's what you get, because you do get the icon at the top.
Yeah, well, but the thing is like my trip hazard gives me an iron, but there's no text saying take an iron, but at the same time it's talking about it. We could have used some help.
Yeah, it definitely needed more clarity around those development cards.
Yeah, as well as the training cards, the guild cards. There are a lot of things that were a little confusing. So what would you give the rulebook then?
I'll probably go ahead and give it a 7. I think it does a decent job explaining the rules. I just think it needed more clarity around the cards.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the actual gameplay. So the gameplay is you started the game with 2 workers.
And your forge master there.
Yeah. And your blacksmith. All right.
Your blacksmith.
Okay. And you're going to take one of these 3 workers, okay? And they are on your board because, again, you may train certain of your employees a certain way. So you have to make sure you know which one you're picking up because it does, in fact, matter. And then you're going to place it on the board. Now, obviously, there are some resource gathering opportunities. There's going to the market, which is the only place you can get bricks. You can't actually collect bricks out in the wild, which actually makes sense. And then you can go to the plaza, which allows you to basically switch out your worker for your blacksmith, which we never actually did.
I didn't feel like the blacksmith was that much more valuable. I mean, you got additional resources, and there's a few, like the guilds you could go to get with a worker, but given, which we'll get into, the competition is the problem. There's too many spaces you could go to with everything, so you didn't really need to go back and get a
correct. Then the guilds, there's a particular deck of cards for guilds that you'll get a card. It gives you an ability, as well as when you can use it to do a contract for 1 less, depending on the guild icon on there. And then you can collect, there's 3 different spaces for contracts between uncommon, military, and royal. Then there's a development area, an upgrade area, so upgrading your board, and then a train area. This is a pretty basic worker placement board development game, basically, and it also has an element of scythe, trying to get the stars by doing so many things. That's up there as well.
In this case, you have pickaxes, but once you complete goals, you place a pickaxe, and once you've got 5, that's the end of the game.
Which, I like that mechanism, since I don't actually have to battle people. So, yeah. There's some things that I like about it, but I think at 2 players, there's not enough competition.
That's the big problem with this. There's nothing limiting you on the board to say if you play with 2 players, it's any different than 4 players, and therefore you can go basically anywhere you want, and there's nothing to restrict you. So you really would need to self-restrict. And the other thing is like that. They created this really weird system where for the develop, train, and upgrade spaces where there's basically 4 action selection spots on it, 2 of which are limited, where you get 1 thing if you go to one side, you get another thing if you go to the other side, but there's 2 in the middle that you can choose either direction. So they made it just about as flexible as they possibly could, and
which, again, would be very different if you were playing this 4 players.
Well, no, because there's still 4 of them. I mean, yes, it would be a little more competition, but
yeah, I
think that they made this too flexible. There's not what makes Waterdeep so great is you go to a spot, nobody else can go there unless they take special actions to move you out of the way.
Well, I don't think they could do this per se. I mean, it needed a little bit more competition. I don't disagree with that. That's true.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it was just a little lackluster. I don't think it was bad.
No, it wasn't a bad game. Especially if it felt like a designer's first attempt at a game, and if for a first attempt, it's not a bad game. It just, if I'm going to choose between this and Waterdeep, I'll pick Waterdeep every time.
Well, okay. So here's my thing. I'm really comparing this to the Dwarven Forge game that we ended up picking up. Again. And it feels like the same level, but that was from a company producing their very first game.
Yeah.
And when you said, and for $70, I'm sorry, I'm kind of upset about the price. I'm still working through that price tag. That's ridiculous.
The other thing is the scoring, because of the fact that it's so flexible, and there's set goals to accomplish to get your pickaxes down and to trigger the end of the game. scoring is going to be neck and neck every time you play this game.
Well, no,
I think
contracts get you victory points, and you don't have. I mean, yeah, you have to do a minimum of 3, but you could hurry up and do that. Competition, I think, would hinder that because getting first matters more.
Getting the hammers, you're getting rushed to get the hammers down, and at that point, we ended up with 2 points difference between us, and that's probably from the contracts.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really that's what.
Actually, no, it was only from the thing because it was exactly.
Oh yeah, because we had the exact same. You just had one more hammer that first before I did.
Correct, and that was 2 points difference.
Yeah, so that's all it came down to, and I think that's every time you play, you're going to run into a very tight score like that because.
Well, but that's okay.
Well, it is and it isn't. Not if everybody's going to tie.
Well, I mean, it keeps it balanced, but at the same time. I feel like this would be different at 4 players. And guys, if you have this game and you've played it 4 players, maybe you can help us out here. Would I play this again at 2 players? No. Would I play this again at 4 players? Probably. Would I be thrilled about it? No.
Like I said, there's so many worker placement games out there to choose from. I'm not going to choose this one over any of them. Right. And
honestly, I don't see a point in this Spinner collection. I just don't see us ever getting this thing out.
And it's sad because there are things in this I like. I mean, it is a nice theme. I do like the development of your player boards. I just wish there was more to differentiate. And I like the implementation or the design idea of using scythe-type scoring. I just think it was poorly implemented because everything can be done by everybody at the same time. And given that, your hammers, you're not going to have one person playing another hammer that someone else can't play too.
This game feels like I played this in the tryout hall.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like a prototype.
It feels like a prototype. This game was not ready to come out to market.
No.
Maybe if they redid some stuff, maybe. But at this stage of the game, if I had got this, hey, this is what we're doing for Kickstarter, I'd be saying something different of us doing a Kickstarter preview on this game versus...
Yeah, if this were like an early Kickstarter first draft that people were doing the preview of to say, I like this about it. I think that, if they're still working on design and we would recommend these changes, I think that would be great. But
that's not where we're at.
That's not where we're at.
And I can't, honestly, guys, especially for that price tag, I can't recommend this game.
No.
So even with that being said, I do like some of the mechanisms in there. I'll give it a 6.
Oh, you're above me.
Only because there are some things I really do like about this game. And I think at 4, I'm going to caveat, it'll probably be a 6 with 4 players.
Yeah.
I think that's, if you guys do have it and you at least want to play it once, make sure you have a full table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn because the concept of it I like better than the actual game. So conceptually, I would give it above Catan as our base 5. But what's the actual gameplay, I have to go below. And I'm going to go probably about a 4. That's probably where I'm at.
Yeah, when you compare it to Catan, I play Catan like hands down over and over again compared to this game. So you may be right on the score. I wouldn't recommend this, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it still needs some more work. I think it needs some more development. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I hope you had a blast hanging out with us, even if you didn't really enjoy the game. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.